Closer than people think, woolly mammoth de-extinction is nearing reality, and we have no idea what happens next. Scientists are getting very close to bringing a few iconic species like woolly mammoths and dodo birds back from extinction. That may not be a good thing. For about 7 minutes in 2003, scientists reversed extinction. The resurrected lineage was the Pyrenean ibex, and the last known member of the subspecies, a female named Celia, had died 3 years earlier. The scientists had collected DNA from Celia's ear before her death and injected her genetic material into domesticated goat egg cell with its nucleus removed. The resulting clone, the first and only extinct creature to have been revived at the time, died soon after birth due to a lung defect. Although the effort failed to produce a healthy animal, de-extinction science has advanced dramatically in the past 2 decades. Technology is no longer a significant hurdle to reviving recently extinct species, and in many cases we have enough DNA to piece together functional genomes for cloning. The question is not so much whether we can resurrect lost species, but if we should. Some companies are not waiting to answer that question. For instance, Colossal Biosciences, a Texas-based biotechnology and genetic engineering company, plans to bring back 3 iconic species, extinct species, the dodo bird, the Tasmanian tiger, and the woolly mammoth. The ultimate goal for these de-extinction efforts, according to Colossal website, is to enrich biodiversity, replenish vital ecological roles, and bolster ecosystem resilience. But a catastrophic outcome cannot be ruled out, other experts say. We have this hubris as humans that we can control our technology, Oswald Schmitz, professor of population and community ecology at Yale University, said. He said, "I'm not so convinced." Even in the best case scenario, conservationists are skeptical that bringing back creatures that died out centuries or millennia ago will offer as much benefit as preserving the ones that are still hanging around. So what's gone is gone, Schmidt said. Closer than people think. Recent outbreaks, the breakthroughs have brought scientists closer than people think to reviving long extinct species. Ben Lamb, co-founder, CEO of Colossal Biosciences, said, "The company aims to produce its first mammoth look-alike calves by 2028, and it's a highly likely one that could see another species before that," Lamb said. And now, referring to Colossal's other de-extinction projects, woolly mammoths lived in the Arctic between 300,000 and 10,000 years ago. To produce the calves, Colossal scientists will first identify the genes encoding the woolly mammoth's most emblematic physical traits, such as shaggy hair and curved tusks, fat deposits, and a dome-shaped cranium. They will then insert these genes into the genome of closely related and therefore genetically similar Asian elephants. De-extinction can have different meanings, and our capability for de-extinction depends on how we define it. Love Delan, a paleogeneticist and professor of evolutionary genomics at Stockholm University, said, "De-extinction, in the sense of creating a form of hybrid species that looks like the extinct one by replacing a limited number of key genes, is possible if there is available DNA from the extinct species," said Dallin, who sits on Colossal's advisory board. "There is no available DNA from dinosaurs, so creating a Jurassic Park is currently more of a pipe dream. Creating an animal that is genetically identical to the extinct species is trickier and depends on the species. For a species that went extinct very recently and for which there are high-quality DNA samples like Celia, this could be possible," Delan said. "That's not the case for mammoths, however." Dallin and his colleagues have come close to sequencing complete woolly mammoth genomes, but a few regions of DNA, such as some strings of repeat code, still prove challenging. So far, Colossal Bioscience has acquired more than 60 partial woolly mammoth genomes, which it will use to edit elephant genomes in the lab, Lamb said, and once they have settled the DNA sequence, colossal representatives say they will implant the hybrid elephant mammoth embryo in an Asian or African elephant surrogate. The company also plans to surrender the dodo and thylacine. On the dodo project, we have one nearly complete genome, Lamb said, while on the thylacine, we only went extinct last century, we've got much better genetic data right out of the gate. For the dodo, Colossal plans to implant the genetic material into a domesticated chicken, and for the thylacine into mouse-like marsupials called fat-tailed danarts, filling the gap in the ecosystem. The goal of de-extinction is to fill ecological niches that have stood empty since the original species disappeared, said Ronald Goddard, ecologist director of the Torres Foundation, a branch of Rewilding Europe that aims to create a substitute for extinct aurochs. Aurochs are wild ancestors of domesticated cattle, once roaming across North Africa, Asia, and nearly all of Europe. They likely played a vital role in maintaining animal and plant biodiversity through grazing and trampling the soil, according to the Torres Foundation. Goddard and his colleagues are bringing aurochs back through backbreeding, which does not involve genetic engineering. Humans hunted aurochs to extinction in 1627, but their DNA lives on in ancient cattle breeds living in southern Europe. By selecting and breeding together cattle with physical attributes, behavioral traits, and genes similar to those of aurochs, ecologists are inching towards reviving the lost species. And Goddard said, we're very close. We see very large, steep progress with each generation. Woolly mammoths, which thrived through the Pleistocene epoch, maintained Arctic grasslands by trampling the snow, suppressing tree and shrub growth, and dispersing nutrients across huge distances via their dung. Without mammoths and other now extinct mega herbivores, the so-called mammoth steppe has given way to a waterlogged landscape of mossy tundra, shrubs, and forest. Research suggests that this new landscape stores less carbon than grasslands did and is more susceptible to permafrost thaw. Some scientists have proposed that reintroducing megaherbivores to the Arctic could help restore the ecosystem, boost carbon storage, and mitigate climate change. The dodo bird was one of the largest terrestrial animals in the ecosystem in Mauritius. Evidence suggests dodos were seed dispersers and thereby influenced vegetation growth, although some experts question the extent to which the birds shaped their ecosystem. Colossal's plans to reintroduce dodos include ridding Mauritius of invasive species so that the birds can thrive, which the company argues has a beneficial halo effect for other species, Lamb said. The company is working with the Mauritian Wildlife Foundation, a non-governmental organization, and intends to partner with the Mauritian government, according to its website. As for the thylacine, it was Tasmania's only marsupial apex predator, and according to the University of Melbourne TIGRR lab, which is also working on de-extinction, as such, the species was important for predator-prey relations that stabilized the ecosystem. And scaling up, but de-extinct species can fulfill their ecological roles only if they survive in the wild, and their populations are large enough, Goddard said. In the case of mammoths, that is a behemoth task. Researchers recently estimated that Alaska's vast north slope could support 48,000 woolly mammoths. But to fulfill their ecological role, which may include increasing the albedo effect, where snow cools Earth by reflecting light back into space, mammoths would likely need to be reintroduced across the Arctic, said Vincent Lynch, an evolutionary biologist and associate professor at University of Buffalo. You cannot just put them in Alaska and fix the permafrost problem. You have to put them everywhere, he said. There would need to be several 100,000 mammoths to have significant impact on the climate, and that could put living endangered species in peril. Both Asian and African elephants, which Colossal plans to use as surrogates to grow mammoth calves are endangered, and every elephant gestating a mammoth calf cannot grow babies of its own. That's going to reduce population size, Lynch said. The alternative would be to implant embryos into artificial wombs, but those have yet to be fully developed. There would be like hundreds of thousands of artificial uteruses in a warehouse somewhere churning out genetically engineered mammoths, Lynch said. This is like 1984 scary stuff. And in unintended consequences. In addition to facing technological hurdles, de-extinction could have serious repercussions. For one, the extinct animals may be sickly, given that the pool of available DNA for each species is relatively small. Sustaining populations requires sufficient number of creatures that are genetically different enough to buffer against diseases and harmful mutations. It's also worth considering who would be liable if large-scale mammoth reintroductions went wrong. The ecosystem has been adapting to the absence of mammoths since mammoths started going extinct, Lynch said. What if there's an unintended consequence and something bad happens? Other experts echoed these concerns. To get some impact, you need to have a lot of animals. Sophie Masserat, ecologist at Rewilding Manager at Rewilding Europe, said, reintroducing can lead to clashes between humans and wildlife. In Africa, if you look at elephant conservation and reproduction, then there are conflicts, Montserrat said. In Kenya alone, human-elephant conflicts killed 200 people between 2010 and 17, according to WWF. If scientists were to succeed in creating a viable mammoth population, they would have to roll out continent-wide education programs teaching people how to react in front of a mammoth. And this is by Satchapar on Live Science. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.